Hey guys, what's up? It is week 122. I'm going to address a couple things like why am I wearing glasses? I don't know if that matters to anybody, but I have a minor eye infection, or I don't know if it's minor, it's an eye infection in my eyelid. I'm on some ointment and stuff. I can't wear my contacts. These glasses are old prescription because I never updated them because I'm a slacker, so I can't see, like I'm at 75% vision. And they're a little crooked and beat up. So if I look like a weirdo, I hate these glasses, squinty little eyes, and this eye right here looks like Emil from RoboCop before he gets splattered all over Kurtwood Smith's car. So yeah, I'm addressing that. So if you're wondering, yeah. The show must go on. Nothing stops me. And so if I'm not as good, Excuse King is back in full, right? Yeah. So I want to address a couple other things first. So I did a Day of the Dead commentary for a Patreon. Derek Bourgeois had it. That's my all-time favorite movie. If you want to check out the commentary, there'll be a link below. I had a lot of fun doing it, so people that watch the videos and stuff, I did it with Jeremy and one of my childhood best friends, so we kind of go into it. It is a fan commentary, so it, how those are. You're in it or you're not into it, so yeah. Love that movie. Enjoyed doing the commentary. I think it's pretty funny. Although a little quiet in spots, but forgive me. And then I also want to let you guys know that Pool Party Massacre 2, there's an Indiegogo going on. Drew Marvick did the first one. It's a pretty funny movie, pretty cool. Had some good moments. There's going to be a part 2, so Indiegogo will be below. And also, there's some Bad Blood Blu-rays going around that Marcus Cook is selling himself. Marcus Cook is a director, special effects artist. And if you want one of those, contact him. It's an SOV movie, early movie by Marcus Cook. So yeah, if that sounds like it's up your alley, then contact Marcus Cook to buy one. I don't know the price exactly, but Marcus is a pretty cool guy. He always hooks you up with some cool stuff. So I guess we're going to hop into the reviews. The first one is from Arrow Video, and this is In the Aftermath. Okay. I don't know what to say about this movie, to be brutally honest. Also, sorry for the reflection on my glasses. Yeah. But In the Aftermath, this is two movies cobbled together. New World Pictures, the Roger Corman company, had purchased this anime movie called Angel's Egg, and they really couldn't distribute it in any way. It was too short, so they took that footage and they somehow kind of made a bunch of stuff, live action stuff, to go with this footage. And that's kind of like New World's MO. They would take, shoot trailers and stuff to get interest in these movies. They released a lot of, like cheapy stuff, and a lot of it I really love. In the Aftermath, like I said, it feels like mixing a peanut butter and rock sandwich. Like, the anime has good animation. The dubbing on that is really poor. The acting, the dubbing actors are terrible on that anime. I don't know if it's only for that version. I imagine it is. And it's like a popular guy who made this anime, so it's also kind of jarring. It's just like this beautiful kind of wet, dark, disturbing post-apocalyptic world in the anime, and then we jump to the live action, which is kind of intermingling these two storylines with characters kind of made live action into this, about this egg that is so it's supposed to be symbolic for something. I mean, I guess the continuation of life or hope or whatever. It's not really done well enough, and then we go to this other post-apocalyptic world live action that's desert-like, and maybe that's kind of like this egg will bring forth like a clean up the oxygen. It has that kind of storyline going on it. But I really got to admit, the anime looks great, but unfortunately, it's not really sensical either, and has some good imagery, and the live action stuff is not really sensical either. And if you listen to the special features, the producer says we couldn't make ends meet of the anime, and it really shows. And then they tried to make a movie out of these two, and it's interesting in that point seeing these two movies cobbled together, but it's very poor. It's not really my thing. It doesn't have that much going on for it, except for, the anime, and the story is very generic at points. We have these two kind of people in oxygen mask scouting out. One's attacked, one and killed. The other one is found by this woman, and this guy kind of thinks he might be hallucinating, sees this little girl with this egg who's supposed to be the girl from the anime. and this egg, is eventually gifted to them, and it brings about changes. It's just kind of a boring movie. It's shot in a decent location, some of the same stuff that Terminator was shot in, and kind of the future where Kyle Reese has his flashbacks. So it's not a bad set, and that stuff is also decent. And they use this one song in here. I think it's a popular song, and I really like the use of that song. And he plays it on the piano, which is a nice touch. There's a couple nice touches here, but all in all, it just doesn't really make much sense. It doesn't really seem to have a point. And sometimes you can take a movie and shamelessly make something good out of it. And here it's two cobbled together movies, one of which is probably of interest and one of which is nothing. And it doesn't really do much for me. There's an interview with the producer on here that talks about working with New World Pictures and companies like that and getting his start. That's interesting, and I enjoy hearing that kind of stuff. And then there's an interview with the actor too, and it sounds like neither of these guys really was like, I don't know what we're doing or kind of what's going on here, but it was two young people getting their start, and that's interesting. And then we have an interview with an author who is kind of an expert on the anime director, and he talks a little bit about appreciation of that, and he talks about this one as well. But it has I think this was released on Blu-ray before by Code Red, so if you missed out on that one and you're interested in the movie, the features are nice, and I don't think Code Red has any features. I'm not 100% on that, but the movie in general is just not something I could really get behind, to be honest, and I don't want to be negative, so I'll just move on. So.
Who else is here?
Just you.
I personally saw the New World versions long before I was even aware of the existence of the Japanese originals.
He believed that I was a frail little girl, and he ventured out to rescue me.
Okay, the next one here is from Mill Creek Entertainment, and I'm continuing the Andy Sidaris run, and we have Picasso Trigger. Yeah, this was made in what, 89? 88, okay. Yeah, if you guys are familiar with Andy Sidaris, he makes movies with shirtless men and shirtless women and TNA and a lot of skin. Good-looking beach people running around with guns on secret missions and explosions and chase scenes and all that kind of stuff. Exploitative, but in a very fun, self-aware kind of way. And this is the third one I've seen by his movie, by him, and it continues kind of the previous one. What was that one? Hard Ticket to Hawaii. It has some of the same reoccurring characters. This agency that's kind of like a special agents group. And this one opens up with the assassination of some sort of drug dealer, kind of cartel, kind of villain. And what happens with him is after that, a bunch of other people start getting picked off from the agency, some of his enemies, all sorts of people like that. Well, no more so from the agency. And the agency remaining people get together and they realize we got to stop this other drug dealer who's in second in charge, who's ordering these hits to get revenge for his brother being incarcerated. So we get all these different groups of people, a lot of playmates, former playmates getting together, and, beefy shirtless guys getting together and getting sent on these different missions in different parts and try to take out these other bad guys that are possibly involved in this guy's organization. The goons are really cheesy, really cheap. They're very expected. They're just so weird, and this movie is so ridiculous and silly and just self-aware of its nonsense. Hope Marie Carlton's in here. She's in Ghoulies 3 and Slaughterhouse Rock, and I think she's in Hard Ticket to Hawaii playing the same character. I enjoy her. I'm not gonna lie, it is, people do watch these just to watch a bunch of attractive people half naked or completely naked. That's why they're watching it. There's guns, there's explosions. Turn your brain off, enjoy yourself. If you can't turn your brain off, you're gonna have a miserable time, because there's points where they go out of the way to oh, well, this person came here for this. They explain everything that's going on, sometimes too much in exposition, but they make sure that people are getting to point A to point B and you understand where it's going on. But also times they'll just do ridiculous things with their weapons and whatnot. This movie has a lot of chase scenes in here. There's a hovercraft chase scene. There's a helicopter in here. It feels big in the cheapest kind of way possible. Very ambitious and cheap and all in the same. Andy Sidaris must have had a lot of money, and he wasn't afraid to spend it to make entertaining entertaining movies. And I like his spirit, and this is enjoyable. It looks really good. I think it's from a 4K master. It has subtitles, has a commentary on here, has the making of, the kind of stuff that was put on that box set. And in that making of, a bunch of vintage stuff. It has Julie Strain in a photo shoot, nude, and talking to him. And Andy Sidaris and his wife have this really strange relationship, and it's kind of fun. He's a funny guy in a weird kind of like, hey, yeah, sleazy kind of 80s way, I guess. And then we also have some Joe Bob Briggs stuff in here, interviewing some of the actresses in the movie. But it's, silly espionage stuff with double crossing and nonsense, and you just don't really care that much, even though there's some decent action here. And there's some funny one-liners. It's enjoyable. It's a good way to waste 90 minutes if you're like, oh man, I don't really want to pay 100% attention and stuff like that. But it's very typical, very similar to his other stuff. I enjoyed watching it, I'm not going to lie. I laughed quite a bit and rolled my eyes just as much, but that's exactly what you expect with this stuff, and it doesn't disappoint.
Picasso Trigger, code name for a killer. Steve Bond is Travis Abilene, an undercover agent with the help of an explosive force. An international mystery winds through the casinos and the countryside, the beaches and the bayous. From Paris, France, to the Hawaiian Islands, the trail is hot and every body is fatally attractive. An art form, and Travis Abilene must stop the Picasso Trigger.
Okay, this next one I decided to check out because I watched one of his other films, was a Patreon pick, and I had this sitting around. This is Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary. This is a Code Red release. This is early 70s, I think 75 or so, maybe even earlier. And this is by Juan López Moctezuma. I hope I didn't mispronounce his name, but that sounds awful lot like Montezuma's Revenge. I definitely mispronounced his name probably. It's like Moctezuma. I'm not 100% sure on that. I heard about this movie from some other people. The Daughters of Darkness mentioned this one. I had already purchased it because I was interested in this kind of stuff. It's a Mexican horror film. This is the director's first film. He was actually kind of friendly with Jodorowsky, and you can see a little bit of that in here. He would later go on to do stuff like Mansion of Madness and Alucarda, which is a more popular film. So Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary. This is a movie that kind of is definitely one of those in the vein of psychological horror films involving a female protagonist or main character in like something like The Witch Who Came from the Sea, which I think is an excellent movie, and it kind of does that here as well. We have this lead female character, and it's a vampire story too, but not your typical turn into a bat and suck blood with my giant fangs, scared of daylight and religious kind of vampire. It's its own mythology and almost less of a typical vampire and more like a vampire struggling with what they have to do to survive and past kind of things, and that's interesting. It's a very interesting movie. It's more interesting than it is good, if that makes any sense. So in a lot of ways, I respect the hell out of it, enjoy watching it, enjoy thinking about it more than I enjoyed watching it. So yeah, the lead character here, she's a vampire, and she has like a boyfriend that she seems to actually care for, and she has a haunted past. She's an artist, so she's involved with kind of the art world, which is very typical for horror films, I've noticed, especially foreign horror films. Art scene is something that maybe that the directors being involved with the art scene themselves want to make comments on themselves. So we have this, like I said, artist, and she has this haunted past. And at the very beginning, when she meets this young man, she takes him home, and there's this painting on her wall and says, "That's my father." Do you remember how he looks? He's like, "Not exactly. I mean, that's just all from flashes of memory I had about him." And it straight looks like John Carradine from the House of Dracula cover. I think it is House of Dracula. Dracula cover. So it's like, huh. And John Carradine is her father. And you know right off the bat it's got to be John Carradine because he's in this movie. He's the biggest name in this movie. There's also a couple other names in this movie. Two detectives, one of which who's in the Wild Bunch, who I think plays one of the small villagers who ends up helping Edmund O'Brien's character at the end. So yeah, he's in this as well as one of the detectives. So we have that going on, and the bodies start to pile up here. And everywhere she goes, she has bodies piling up, and she makes a fatal mistake in kind of a really unique lesbian kind of scene where she kills someone she knows. And the remorse that the character shows brings this movie a little bit further than a lot of other kind of movies in this vein. Like, you could see that the character is struggling with this as well. And pretty soon there starts to be other murders happening, and she realizes that it's somebody from her past catching up. And we know it's John Carradine because he's wearing the mask. You could tell it's John Carradine. Some shots might not be him, but wearing the mask and picking people off here and there. And you're just like, oh, this is going to tie into something. And he looks a little deformed, and it's this hereditary kind of nightmare thing coming back to her, and it all kind of brings out the very end, and it's enjoyable. There's some nice twist. There's this really stiff FBI agent who comes down to investigate some of the murders because they were Americans in Mexico that were killed, and he is so stiff, but he plays it pretty dead on. And there's this really weird car chase involving him, and his whole performance is kind of strange, and his fate, I enjoyed watching what happened to this guy. Yeah, it's well acted. I really thought the lead was really good, to be honest. And Carradine was always nice to see. And a really weird thing happens at the end. And just kind of like almost haunting. It's a haunting kind of movie. And I like the ending. It's one of these kind of twisted 70s ending movies. And it's worth seeking out, worth checking out for sure. The print's not particularly great. I don't think there's any subtitles. It is in English, so if that's what you're looking for. And I don't remember any features being on the thing, to be honest. I'm going to double check for you guys. No, there's not really any features or anything like that. But yeah, I did enjoy it, and like I said, it interested me in a lot of ways that a lot of other films don't. I thought there's much deeper stuff in here going on, and pretty cool. And it's also the nice film debut of a director that showed some, is kind of like at least a noteworthy director from Mexico for sure. And his films are at least worth seeking out and studying a little bit. But I would compare it to something like The Witch Who Came from the Sea, which is kind of like a slow, kind of psychological, almost slasher horror movie, which I really like. This one has these elements that are weird, and I like when they take the elements of horror we already know and kind of make them different, like the psychological vampire, tortured. I love those movies with like the father and mother kind of. I meant the father and daughter dynamic. Like even Messiah of Evil has that going on as well. So it's interesting. Like I said, for sure, it's not like overly gratuitous stuff, but I did feel bad for the people when they were killed in the movie. A lot of them, I was like, oh, I don't like seeing that. That's just very, very, sad, especially the beach scene. And the way some of the action scenes are filmed in here, they almost are comical, but they seem realistic. When somebody's trying to fight her off with like a fishing pole, you're like, that's silly looking, but it is realistic, and how it unfolds, like somebody trying to get to you and you have something in your hand, you're like, get away, and you're just like, that's silly but true. And I like it. It's a unique movie for sure.
Beware this beauty. She's a beast.
Goddess of birth and death.
Lusting for blood. More vicious than the man-eating shark. She lives to kill.
Bring your drink with you. We drink together. Do everything together.
Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary. Why must your lovers die?
That was Arthur Jensen, businessman on a fishing trip in Mexico.
Behind a facade of beauty, the powers of darkness reached out. And this beautiful girl was programmed to murder. Death becomes a living thing. Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary, must all your lovers die?
Well, my people will be happy if I can just report this as an ordinary homicide, without political implications.
A Mardi Gras of mirth.
Who are you? Let go!
Of terror running wild.
Bloody Mary will turn your blood to ice for the devil's cocktail.
Okay, the next one is by the same director, and I don't remember who Patreon picked this. I think it might have been, Cyanide Breath Mints, and he picked Alucarda. And I haven't seen this in a long time. This is the Mondo Macabro release, so I was really happy to revisit this one. I always remembered enjoying it, but it's been a long time. Oh boy, this movie is insane. This takes place, what, in the late 1800s or something around there? I think so. So, yeah, we have this poor girl who lost her family, and she has to move to this kind of convent of nuns, and right away this other girl befriends her who's really strange, Alucarda. Dracula backwards, guys, that's not a good sign. So she befriends her, and she takes her to this meadow, and she shows her this crypt, and she opens the crypt, and there's a weird flashback in the very beginning too, and we're supposed to think that maybe this person was related to this girl or whatever. This evil sorcery is in this crypt. She opens the crypt, and meanwhile she also met somebody who could possibly be Satan. Really weird stuff, and if you feel like I'm all over the place here, this movie starts like that. It doesn't take any time to get started. It jumps right into it. It's really freaking weird, really weird, crazy and stuff like that, and kind of just jumps right into the story. It's short, it's to the point, it's crazy. So right away these girls are kind of possessed by the satanic force, and they have this relationship, like this a lesbian, like almost like close to love, like sexual thing within them, and they start to kind of fight against the church and do sort of these satanic things. And the whole movie is making this point, kind of like the church is full of hypocrisy and violence, and the church kills, and we just want freedom and love and all these things. So there's that, and then at the same time, why was it these 70s movies all the time felt like they did this, where it's like the church sucks, and you get on the side of these people, you're like, yeah, screw the church, and then at the end you're like, oh, but they really were possessed. Like in the movie The Church by Michele Soavi, I'm sitting there watching like, this is horrible that they're killing all these people, and they have them in this big pit, and then they start crawling out of the pit like they're possessed, and I'm like, what kind of mixed messages in this? Like it's like a horror film that wants to portray the satanic acts and stuff, but also be like, well, the church is messed up too. So I like that kind of like differentness, that kind of thing. Like, I don't know why, but I love that stuff in these movies. And nunsploitation is really cool a lot of times, and usually kind of just visually it's always great, like Flava the Heretic and stuff like that, and Killer Nun. This is probably the best nunsploitation movie I've ever seen. It's so good, so memorable, but and there's just so many scenes of insanity. Well, we have this, and then the nuns are dressed like mummies, like they have these things wrapped around them, and they just look gorgeous. Like how their outfits are just like amazingly, like they just fit perfectly, and they're just awesome looking. So what happens is, of course, they're possessed. They start to try to perform some sort of exorcism on them when weird things start going on, and all hell breaks loose. We have this man of science who doesn't believe this, and he's like, what are you guys doing here? And then we have that turmoil between somebody who doesn't believe, kind of recognizing that something's different and crazy, and this guy is a weird actor. He reminds me of like somebody like, I don't know how to explain this guy, but he reminds me of Jimmy Stewart, but also like weird Jimmy Stewart. I don't know how to say how he does. He's like just a weird kind of actor, like John Carradine and Jimmy Stewart mixed or something. But regardless, the two leads in this movie are great, one of which actually appears in Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary in a really depressing murder scene. But yeah, so I don't want to spoil too much. I've already spoiled probably too much. But what happens is all hell breaks loose. Satanic insanity. Nuns catching fire, women completely stripped nude, covered in blood. It just has a lot of iconic imagery and really great, satanic horror. It's probably one of the best satanic horror movies, and probably the best nunsploitation movie. It's almost damn near perfect to me. Short, sweet, crazy, violent, just out of this world, makes weird statements about things. I just really like the damn thing, and I can't recommend it enough, to be honest. On here they had some interviews with people talking about this director's career and how he had the ties to Jodorowsky and stuff like that, and that was very interesting. And he didn't do that many horror movies. I think he only did 4, and he didn't live particularly long time either, so it's kind of a shame. This is kind of definitely the director I would like to see more work. I know we have people like Del Toro. I think he's on the special features talking about how much he loves this movie, and for good reason. Like I said, it's a very interesting film. I definitely have to watch Mansion of Madness as well, which I don't think I have seen yet. But yeah, I can't recommend this movie enough, and I don't want to say too much because I've already probably spoiled enough, but tons of iconic imagery, tons of interesting ideas, 2 beautiful leads in here, a really cool early lesbian kind of relationship that was awesome, and the Satanic Pack, and just like all that stuff. It's just well worth your time and creepy and also awesome. Well, it's perfect. Oh, damn near perfect.
Todavía no puedo creerlo. Sin embargo, esa destrucción en la capilla fue hecha por alguien que odia cualquier manifestación religiosa. Para ese ser, la capilla fue un terrible antagonista. Cuando yo estudié en la Universidad de París, me fue probado una y otra vez que la posesión diabólica era mera tontería. Fue el resultado de los desvaríos de una mente insana.
¡Daniela! ¡Daniela!
Ellos me enseñaron que la religión era una farsa y una forma de esclavitud, y que había llegado la hora de romper las cadenas de la superstición, el yugo de la mentira y la falsedad. Soy un hombre de ciencia, y ahora me encuentro frente a algo sobrenatural, que en verdad me atemoriza. Esta mujer estaba muerta. ¡Satan! Pero había un hálito de maldad dentro de ella, listo para revivir y atacar a seres inocentes. Eso solo podría ser la obra de lo que ustedes llaman el demonio.
Alucarda. God the Father commands thee. God the Son commands thee. God the Holy Ghost commands thee. No!
Con Claudio Brook. David Silva. Tina Romero. Susana Camini. Adriana Roer. Tina French. Alucarda, dirigida por Juan López Moctezuma.
Okay, the next one is a Patreon pick. I do not own this one. I watched it on Shudder, and this is from director Chris Sun. This is Boar. Okay, Boar. I think that Tone Joker wanted me to do this one for Patreon, and I was interested in checking this one out. I just couldn't find it anywhere, and I saw it was on Shudder. I was like, perfect. Okay, this director did a few movies. Charlie's Farm, which I haven't watched, but he did two earlier ones. Daddy's Little Girl, which is a really twisted revenge movie from Australia. All these are, he's an Australian director, so really twisted movie. I remember being very invested in that one, and Come and Get Me, which I remember being okay. Kind of killers tracking down people in the outback and murdering them really viciously. I remember it being somewhere middle for me. So yeah, I put this in and I was like, oh yeah, we get this wild boar movie, and right away let's just get this out of the way. You know, how can you talk about a wild boar movie, an Australian movie, without bringing up Razorback? Classic movie. Been a while since I've seen it. Remember it being pretty good. Jaws in the outback is what a lot of people would say. So okay, what we have here is this whole small town, and I appreciate what they're trying to do here with this small town and create a small town. That's nice to see. We have a family unit coming back to the small town. Pretty typical setup. The mother was from here. Her original husband died. She's dating Bill Moseley, who's an American. She's going to see her brother Nathan Jones, who's in stuff like Fearless and a bunch of other things. Good actor, underrated, kind of tough guy, big guy. Probably used to doing so many physical things that when he gets to act like in this movie, he takes advantage of it, and he does a good job. We have her two kids and one of her daughter's boyfriend, who's a complete and utter douchebag. So they're traveling to their old small town. Meanwhile, in this small town, what's happening is there's this giant kind of rabid, maybe dead boar thing going around and killing people. They use practical in here. When they use practical, it's very enjoyable, very fun. It's usually a close-up, a head coming in and ripping people apart. they also use CGI. The CGI, this movie is very dark and very kind of gritty looking, so when the CGI is in there, it looks a little too cartoonish. It's going to be very hard to duplicate that CGI in this movie. I understand why they did it. I understand there's a budget constraint, but I still have to say I didn't think it looked particularly great, and I feel bad for saying that, but that's how I feel. There's a lot of off-screen kills, and you're like, off-screen kills. In the beginning, you don't want to show the monster too much, so understandable, but there's still too many off-screen kills as a whole. The aftermath carnage of the bodies looks amazing. It looks disgusting. I was gonna, it was like, oh wow, nasty. Like seeing these bodies all mauled up by this boar. There's an interesting list of character actors, like I said, or genre actors. We got Bill Moseley, Nathan Jones. We also have John Jarratt, and then we have the big guy from Turkey Shoot. Remember the bald guy? He's in a bunch of Australian stuff, and even a couple others that pop up in here for small bit roles. So that's nice to see. John Jarratt's good in this. He's got a nice little role, but there's something about this movie that takes its characters. It stays with characters for a long time, and they'll give them a 20-minute scene and then just kill them off. So a lot of the characters never interact, and almost kind of just weird, like they're almost broke up in vigilance, or you know what I mean? They're almost little stories in their own story, and that's good. I like to see. I'm one that would complain about every character being cannon fodder, but without any character development. And there's decent character development here, to be honest, although some of the characters are cannon fodder, but that's okay. That's just, kind of a animalist attack slasher kind of mix. I enjoy, like I said, Nathan Jones' interactions with the family. He seems to genuinely care. He gets some good moments, and they do show him some love, and I appreciated seeing that, because I thought he was a good every time I saw him perform in other films, so it's nice to see an actor get some good juicy stuff. I know he's in the lead in Charlie's Form, so I'll have to check that one out. But like I said, the small town does seem, it all centers around a bar, which I can understand, but when you compare it to something like Wake and Fright, another Australian movie that centers around a bar or a pub, it's just not nearly as good. But Wake and Fright is a damn near masterpiece, according to many people. So it's like, you can't really, that's a very high bar to set, so I don't want to do that. So, but I will mention that it's the bar in Small Town. It's an okay. It's not 100% great to me. And then the special effects, like I said, practical's good. CGI is rather poor. In the opening, we have these other little small boars running around, and I always think it's bad, but and it's just like back in the day, they used to have to find ways to not show certain things or show certain things a certain way without the help of CGI. And I can only imagine if this movie is made without the help of CGI, how much I would have enjoyed it more. And I'm not a CGI hater, but I do feel like sometimes when CGI is used in a very kind of dark-looking movie, this movie's not serious, but it's a very dark-looking, serious movie. If that makes any sense to everybody. The tone is not 100% serious, but it looks like it takes place in the real world, not like a cartoon movie where you can get away with some CGI and stuff like that. So it can be a little distracting. I'm coming right in the middle on this one. I think it's worth checking out, looking into. Some of the practical stuff is fun. Some of the carnage is really cool. And, I appreciated some of the characters. Some of the characters take or leave. Like, they take this long time to make this one character a complete douchebag and then just kill him unceremoniously, kind of. And you're just like, why? What's the point? But I would check it out if you're interested in this stuff. I want to check out Charlie's Farm. I think that sounds way more up my alley than the other one. So, yeah.
Okay, cabin fever is officially set in. I suggest the next town we come to, we pull over and get some grub.
Good idea. Sounds great.
Someone's been tearing the fences down there at the old Addison's farm there.
He found a few sheep too. Huh? Something's killed them, yeah.
Well, what, all 9 of them?
There's nothing out there except dust and ruse.
That's a load of shit, Ernie, and you know it. You remember that smash up on the highway coming into town, right? About 12 months ago? They couldn't find the couple. All the police found was the wrecked car. I was driving back from Bob's place in me truck, and I saw something in the paddock, about 300 or 400 metres off, and I hit the spotty on it. It was a boar.
Okay, the next one is Masked Avengers. This is picked by Jason Willard. I watched this on Amazon Prime. Had to watch it in English. It was dubbed in English, but okay, let's hop into this one. I don't know where to go with these movies. These movies are always so crazy. This is a Shaw Brothers produced movie, so you know it's going to be completely nuts. Chinese kung fu kind of style movie. This one, geez, when does this take place, actually? It's hard to kind of figure out when this one takes place in. We have this group of evil masked Avengers kind of going. I don't know why they're called the Masked Avengers, because they don't really avenge anything. They're just crooks and horrible people. There's 3 leaders, one in the mask. They're gold mask, a red, a green, and a white. I think it's white or gold or silver, something like that. So they go around and they have a henchman and mask as well, and they kill anybody who they come in contact with and rob and kill them and take everything away. So this one group of people who's been wrong decide to try to figure out who these masked guys are. So they kind of enter this small town, and they're like, we got to find out who they are. They start getting picked off here and there, and they start to discover that who some of these masked people could be. So it's like part mystery, part like slasher in a general sense, that they're getting picked off one by one, maybe more of a like 10 Little Indians thing, but the kung fu people are getting picked off one by one, and all the villains use these spears, like the tridents, they use these tridents, and so that comes into play. So there's lots of crazy fight scenes again here. So we have like kung fu, pick 'em off kind of thriller suspense movie where we're trying to figure out this mystery movie. So it's got a lot of different things going for it. There's this one character who's a cook that is obviously very suspicious, and one of the other characters kind of forcefully befriends him, and you're thinking the whole time, this guy's one of them, and they do kind of like a double twist in here where you're like, okay, yes, because at first I was like, come on, this is going to be so stupid if it does that. It's going to be like the Reservoir Dogs thing, but just 10 times worse. Like, if Reservoir Dogs made sense, this wouldn't make sense if they did it. I'm like, don't do that. And then they don't do that, they do something different, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, that's really cool. And everything is kind of intriguing to the movie, and it's all good until it gets to the very end where it turns great. And this is a movie where the bad guys use tons of booby traps. There's people getting caught in these weird little, things, and the way they torture and kill people, and they're just very monstrous people. So you want to see them get killed, and you're seeing all the other characters you like kind of get picked off. So at the very end, there's this big showdown between the masked guys, the 3 main masked guys and their henchmen, and it feels like the end of Double Dragon, where they have, I imagine Double Dragon, the end fight scene, where you go in that building for Sega or the Nintendo version, and they have all those booby traps and spikes coming out of the walls and pits. It's probably inspired by stuff like this. So it's very much like that. And there's all these crazy ways people are getting killed by acid and like spikes coming out of the wall. It's just very booby trap oriented, and I really enjoyed that. The fights are really cool, and the way they do things with the tridents, switching the tridents, like shooting them at people, throwing them at people, and then the other one will catch it and they'll switch it around. Like, I really think that's very well done. I think it's very action oriented, and it's like your jaw kind of hits the floor that they're doing all this stuff. And they go into wides, and when they do wide shots, you're like, yes, people need to know what the fuck they're doing, and they do, and it looks great. It looks great. The fight choreography, fights. I'm not going to try to say that word right now. Obviously, it's not working for me. But the fight's great. I love how it works. Love how it's done. Just very entertaining, very satisfying movie, and really good. Really, really good. Enjoyed the hell out of it. Very recommended. And most of the Shaw Brothers stuff I've seen, I've always enjoyed. I think Shaw Brothers are definitely up my alley. They definitely feel like very genre oriented and stuff. Like the kung fu, but everything. I can't wait to watch Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires when we get there for the Hammer one. I've always enjoyed that one, and I do like a lot. Maybe I'll do Shaw Brothers movies one episode, because that would be really cool. I get to cover other stuff like the Lost Souls movie and stuff, and weird kind of killer snakes, all that kind of stuff. That'd be really cool. But yeah, enjoyed the hell out of this one. Great pick, Jason Willard.
你也可以死了。
插手行事都戴面具，插头的面具是金色，使用的是金叉。
又是一只小猪死在屠夫手下。
不知道你的来历，不过我看得出你是热血汉子，我的血早已冷。小猪怎么样才能找到屠夫？不怕死。为了要找到屠夫，小猪不得不冒点险。天涯海角在找你，没想到你就躲在这儿。为什么你没想到？我根本就是插头。我把他当朋友，他也一定把我当朋友。男子汉大丈夫，亮叉吧。
Okay, the next Patreon pick is from Dustin Mills, and it is Hellboy 2 Golden Army. This was made in 2008, obviously by Del Toro. I'm a fan of Del Toro. I had not seen the first Hellboy until he picked that for Patreon. So I've seen a lot of his earlier stuff, like Pan's Labyrinth, Devil's Backbone, Mimic. I loved all that stuff. I thought he was a very great director, very unique, and I like his new stuff too, like Shape of Water and Crimson Peak. I like it a lot. I really do enjoy him. It's one of my favorites. So this one, Hellboy 2. I put this in, and I did see parts of this a long time ago. And Hellboy 1 I enjoyed. I liked it. This one carries on that story and continuation of the story and picks up with Hellboy and Abe, and I can't think of the fire girl, but geez, why am I forgetting her name in the movie? But regardless, they pick up where they're going on, and it continues their character arc. And I thought that it carried on right where it left off in a fairly good way. In a very good place, I'll say that. So that was very nice to see. So Hellboy's still dealing with, the loss of a loved one, and so is Abe, and there's a turmoil between the relationship, and then we have this whole story. The movie opens up with like kind of a fairy tale where he's learning a story from John Hurt when he was a young demon, and he's telling him this story about the Golden Army, how these trolls made this this Golden Army for these elves and whatever, and then the elves felt bad because they had it, so they separated the crown that controlled the Golden Army and gave one to the man and two to that kept the elves. So what we have here is this coming true, and this sounds a lot like the Nibelungen, the story with the ring and stuff like that. It feels kind of like that. I definitely wonder if this is based on a bunch of fairy myths and stuff like that, and folklore, or if it's its own story and was really based on something. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely feels like that with the trolls and the goblins and things like that. And I gotta say this right off the bat, it's 2008, okay? And the CGI in this movie, it's probably mixed with practical because he always does that, looks just as good, if not better, than the Marvel movies that came out last year. And I'm just like, what? Why? Why is that the case? Like, have we peaked on CGI, or is this does Del Toro use it really well? I don't 100% know, but I think the CGI in this is, or maybe it's that point when I'm watching a really good movie, I don't notice the CGI. Could that possibly be it too? I don't know, 100%. But anyways, enjoyed this one. Thought the special effects looked great. I thought the two baddies were great, or really the one baddie. We really have one bad guy here. Jeffrey Tambor still comes back for this one. Hilarious as ever. Constantly disrespected by Hellboy. He's like, why doesn't he like me? He's a great actor. I'll never forget him in the Tales from the Crypt episode with Debbie Moore, just playing such a disgusting person. If I can't have her, no one can. Also, Arrested Development. Great actor. Underrated actor, actually. So he's great in this. Very funny. Abe gets a nice little story arc with a love story, which is enjoyable as well. And there's some funny bits and moments of bonding between Hellboy and Abe. I really love this movie, I'm not going to lie, and this is not something I typically review for the show, but I enjoy when people pick this kind of stuff because I can gush about it and talk about it a little bit. So I like the bad guys. They were sympathetic in a ways. Well, not the bad guys, but the elves. I thought they were sympathetic, and they do that dual twin thing where one's affected, the other's hurt, and I love that. They do that in Vampire Circus, and I've always had a thing for twins in movies. I like it. I don't know why. I'm just intrigued by twins in movies and the way they use them. So yeah, I love that they have the twins in here. And the lead, like I said, the lead baddie is really good. He wants to save nature because man is destroying it. And there's a scene where they use this giant, forest god to fight Hellboy, and he has to make a decision, and it's heartfelt and kind of sad in a lot of ways. But I like the movie. I like the bad guys. Everybody had a reason what they were doing, and I was behind it. Good stuff. Wish they would have continued the series because I'd really love to see how this one would have went on. They introduced a new character too. I can't think of his name 100%. Kraus, and he's like this ex-German guy who's all smoke, and he's caught in this, but really cool character, very funny as well. Interactions with the Hellboy are great. Cool fight scene between them, and he's one of those characters that you think is going to be a complete dick, but he redeems himself and he becomes one of the best characters in the whole movie. I think Selma Blair's who plays the Fire Girl. I like her too. I enjoy the acting, and her she's just really has a good look, and she's just really tough, and I like that. I like all the characters in the movie. I like all the performances in the movie. No real complaints. I think it's damn near perfect for a superhero movie, and very rarely do I watch the superhero movies, I enjoy them, I say, yeah, that's a nice little popcorn movie, but I never need to own it or anything like that, which is really weird for me to do. But stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 and the Hellboy movies, I'm like, I could own those, I could watch those again, I could enjoy the hell out of them. There's a little bit more to it, to me, than just a popcorn movie. And I love popcorn movies, but I don't have a connection to the other Marvel movies like I do, or superhero movies like I do, like these ones, like I said, Guardians and the Hellboy movies. And I also enjoy like stuff like the old superhero kind of like inspired, like Darkman. Love the hell out of Darkman and Super and stuff like that. That stuff I love. But I really recommend checking this one out. I think it's great. So Hellboy Golden Army is as good as a superhero movie can be, and some of them are really good. So yeah.
In 1944,
wait!
A strange creature was captured by the U.S. government. Since then, he has lived among us in secrecy, protecting humanity from the things that go bump in the night.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
I have a suspect.
The Royal Seal.
I have returned from exile to wage war against humankind. I will call upon the help of all the children of the earth. The good, the bad, and the worst.
Are we gonna talk all night? Because I'm really sleepy. Oh, crap.
On July 11, the visionary director of Pan's Labyrinth invites you into a world of mythic creatures and forgotten lands.
Oh my God.
Where the ultimate battle between good
Give it up, Nasty. We can see it.
How do you see me?
and evil
Kill them.
will decide the fate of mankind. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. Good never looked so bad.
I know I'm ugly.
Hammer time! For all who are willing to pay the price, we invite you to go through the mirror of life.
Come if you dare.
All right, we're here to do Hammer Time. Switched it up there. This is week 18, and we're doing Freddie Francis's 1964 The Nightmare. How many movies are called The Nightmare, Jeremy?
7.
Probably more. Not to be confused, and I don't think many people would confuse it with the 1981 movie, the Romano, 1981 slasher gore kind of thing, Nightmare. Remember that one?
Nightmare on Elm Street?
No, Nightmare, the one you don't like. With the guy walking around the city, and then it's a Halloween ripoff, and I always watched it. And you're like, you're watching that crappy movie again where he keeps having the nightmares?
I think I'm thinking of Truth and Dare.
Oh, that one I watched a lot too. Okay, this has nothing to do with Nightmare 1964. Okay, this is a black and white one, so you know what that means in the Hammer world. It's contemporary. It's, like I said, shot by cameraman Freddie Francis. This is what, I know, it's got to be like his third or fourth Hammer movie. He did Revenge of Frankenstein, and he did Paranoiac. And he approves on his camera work, I think. I think this one looks great. Mm-hmm. It's black and white. I think the black and white stuff looks really good. I think the lighting's good. The shadows are good. But the story suffers here.
Yeah, the story's a bit on the predictable side. It's one of those kill the heirs so we can get the money deals.
It's gothic. It's a gothic story. And Paranoiac is a gothic story as well. But I really feel that they do it much better with Paranoiac. Don't you agree?
I agree. Paranoiac, that's one of Oliver Reed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one's much better.
Yeah, it seems like the difference between this one and Paranoiac is in Paranoiac, like, the rightful heirs are getting the money. Like, I think, like, specifically, like, the daughter.
Well, let's get in the plot of this one.
Yeah.
Essentially, what we have here is a girl. She's going into this this school. Mm-hmm. Like, not too far away. It's like 20 minutes away. They said 20 miles. Yeah. And she starts to have a mental breakdown. So they said, well, you're going to get sent back home for a little bit and see, kind of help yourself out. So they take her back home, and her mother, or is it her mother's not really around, or her father? Her father's not really around. Or are they both gone?
They're both gone.
Okay, both her parents are gone, and there's a lawyer that she's kind of infatuated with, almost like romantically. She has a crush on him.
Right.
And he's taking care of all the deals. Right off the bat, I was like, man, I do not trust a lawyer. You never
Right.
trust a lawyer in this situation. They had hired, the headmaster comes back with her. She seems to actually think, actually cares about the girl. And then we also have a head nurse who's been hired or something like that to look into her psychological state.
Right.
And there's some helpers around the house.
Yeah, and there's some helpers around the house, and essentially what you find out is that the mother actually killed the father, and the mother was put into an institution.
Yeah.
Like,
this honestly feels like, I don't want to say a ripoff of Hitchcock, but because it's more like a ripoff of William Castle, like Straight Jacket or something like that,
Yeah.
which are inspired or ripped off or whatever you want to say from Hitchcock movies. So this really feels like one of those, William Castle movies that came out in the 60s. And I think Straight Jacket's a lot better than this, to be honest. So it's a lot like that. It's in the vein of that. But we have a couple cool, unique things going on. She starts to see this woman, this like kind of haunting figure who has a scar on her face, and she's not sure why she's in the house, and she sees her everywhere, no one else sees her. And the twist with that is pretty funny, actually.
yeah, so... Do we reveal the twist?
I don't want to give this 100% away yet, but I predicted everything in this, didn't
Yeah,
I?
yeah,
I predicted absolutely everything that was going to happen within 5 minutes. I was like, there's this, and there was like a slight switch up, and I was like, oh, I didn't see that come. Oh, because they did this.
Right.
Because they did something absolutely ridiculous, like Darkman style.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I couldn't predict that, but I could predict the rest. As far as the acting is concerned, I remember somebody being really standout in here. The head nurse.
I thought the head nurse was
She was really good. The lawyer, I think, is piss poor.
Yeah, he's poor.
I think he's really poor.
Kind of fizzles out. And it's weird, like, this movie, like, so the girl, that you think is the main character, she goes away.
Yeah.
About, like, the 30-minute mark, or the halfway point.
There's a couple twists here. I'm going to be honest, this movie's very middling and for me.
Yeah.
It's very middle of the road. It looks probably better than any of Freddie Francis's directed movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's all better on there and stuff, but he just couldn't. The script is not very good. I mean, it's very generic and predictable.
Right. It follows a,
let's throw up some spoilers.
Yeah, we're going to throw on some spoilers. I think that Paranoiac is actually a better title for this movie than Nightmare, and I think Nightmare actually fits better for Paranoia.
I think Paranoiac's really good because the performances are so strong.
You're right,
and
but
the story's better.
When you're looking at this movie in particular, everybody's out to get everybody else in Nightmare. So that sense of paranoia is there. Like essentially, they take the main girl, she gets locked up because she killed someone.
Just like her mother. And I like that whole idea. Like right in the beginning there's a nightmare in this movie.
Yes.
And it's Nightmare. And it was like her like getting put in a mental institution. I was like, oh, she is worried that she's going to be crazy. She's having a nightmare because her mother is probably crazy. Right off the bat did I not call that.
Right.
And then it's that. And I was like, okay. And I never read anything about this movie. I didn't know anything about this one. I just knew it was a thriller. And I was like, okay, so we have that. Then we have this lawyer. I was like, he's no good. Then they has a head nurse. I was like, she's no good.
Right.
And right off the bat, I was like, there's no good.
And like what you find out is the head nurse has been dressing up as the lawyer's wife
and walking around the house
and walking around her. So when the main girl actually sees the lawyer's wife for like the first time, it's actually her. She kills her like right on the spot.
Right
like,
on the spot. But that's halfway through the movie.
That's halfway through.
Then we deal with the head nurse's psychology, losing her mind and going at the throat of the lawyer, which is probably the coolest twist in the movie because otherwise we've seen this before.
Right.
And that's the slight switch up, which makes it a little bit more interesting.
And so so the lawyer takes on the possession of the house, and he ends up marrying the head nurse,
of course.
And she's like, "You want to get rid of me, and get it off for yourself?" And like they move into like the house, and they keep all of the assistants from the prior family.
Who knows something's up.
Yeah, like
something's weird. They liked the family. They were good people.
Right, they're all good people. There's like what the driver, gardener,
the chauffeur, the butler, and the maid.
And the maid, yeah. And so essentially like the head nurse, she starts seeing things.
She starts to lose her mind.
And so she's like calling the insane asylum, like where's, I don't know the main girl's name.
Me either, but
we're just gonna call her main girl.
Did she escape? What's going on?
Right, and we're like, yeah, she did escape. Yeah, she's very dangerous. And the lawyer's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Everything's fine. And it's like, okay, so is the lawyer in cahoots with the main girl?
Trying to make her go crazy.
Yeah.
And ask some questions. And I don't know if you remember how this ends.
It ends, she ends up getting the lawyer. She thinks that the lawyer is out to get her, so
him.
she kills him, saying,
And then she's arrested.
And then she's like
she's put in a mental institution or something like that.
Well, no, it's she kills the lawyer, saying that she's going to blame it on the escaped patient, the main girl.
Yeah.
You know, and then she goes downstairs and meets with all the servants. The servants like, you killed him. No, she's fine. And like apparently the servants were doing this the whole time, dressing up and like trying to scare the head nurse for her to.
Yeah, they were in on it too. So that's why you don't keep the help.
Yeah,
if you kill some people or get some people killed, don't keep the help.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like I said, it looks good. There's a good performance by the head nurse. Everyone else is kind of mediocre. The lawyer, I think, is poor. I just don't like his character. I mean, you're not supposed to, but he's just so weird and doesn't act human.
He doesn't. And like after I think he's better in the first half.
Yeah.
And then in the second half, he's very like, what are you talking about? Everything's fine. Yeah, we kept the same stat. Like, you're kind of like, is he trying to intentionally make her go crazy? Or
I don't know.
Like, he just never seems to like if he wasn't doing any of the paranoid stuff,
then why is he acting so weird?
Then why? Yeah,
because
like,
it's a switch up. They want you to think something's going on.
Yeah, they want you to, but clearly he was just kind of an imbecile the whole time.
Did you want to read this one, or you want me to?
You can go ahead and read it.
Okay, we got Nightmare from the John Stanley Creature Features book, a 1964, 2.5 out of 5. Same thing I'd give it.
Mm-hmm.
Teenager Jenny Linden has terrifying dreams in which she hears the voice of her crazed mother. Seems the old bat went berserk and stabbed a man to death, and now Jenny fears she has mom's madness. A phantom figure in a nightmare haunts her until her birthday. When Jenny flips out and stabs the woman to death, this hammer suspense thriller has that's so weird that doesn't make any sense. A phantom figure in the nightmare haunts her until her birthday when Jenny flips out and stabs the woman to death. I just feel it's an abrupt ending to a sentence. This hammer suspense thriller has an intriguing script by producer Jimmy Sangster, but if you're sharp, you'll spot the red herrings and figure out what's happening. Directed by Freddie Francis. Yeah, this is pretty much exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's the one underneath it that you don't like. Nightmare, 1981. Cinematic sleaze scuzz recommended to splatter fans only.
I must have blotted it out completely.
This one, I would say up to you. I wouldn't give it a strong. I'd say check it out if it's up your alley. I would say watch Paranoiac instead.
Yeah, watch Paranoiac. I mean, these contemporary ones I like them, I think, more than the Gothic stuff.
Where would you rate this one? I'm at 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10? I mean, it's okay. It's predictable. I think that the head nurse does give an amazing performance.
Yeah, when she goes mad at the end, I was just like, wow.
Right, because she's a straight character in the beginning. You know, she's kind of like, you know, you're crazy, or you're not crazy. Like, she's trying to talk her down.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, like, she has her own breakdown. So she has a great performance.
Great just desserts.
Right.
What would work best as a Tales from the Crypt episode?
Yeah, you could probably trim this down and be a good, like...
Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode.
Yes, absolutely.
It's probably more fitting.
Yeah, I'd give it like a out of 5.
Why you gotta look at that book? Why you gotta look at the book when you're ready? Like the book's
looking at the book. We'll just put this down here. 2.5 out of 5.
You're looking at the book like, is that okay, book?
Is that okay? You agree with me, creature?
Okay.
Okay.
Next week is The Nanny with Bette Davis.
Bette Davis?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she's in 2. We're not doing The Anniversary, but we're doing The Nanny. And it's supposed to be really weird, and I don't remember who directed that one. But I'm excited to check that one out.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
All right. And we got some weird ones coming up after The Nanny. We got Dracula, Prince of Darkness, which isn't weird. But then The Reptile, Rasputin the Bad Monk. We're starting to get some of the cooler ones, I think. The ones The Witches. Right. The one I wanted to watch.
Some of the 70s stuff, too.
The ones the ones I wanted to watch are probably the ones I like less, probably what's going to work. You know what I mean? Because I like some of the ones I didn't expect much from.
Right. When do we get to Catermass again?
That's a while. I think
it's
68. We're at 64 now.
I just want to see more of him.
It's not the same actor.
I know, but
I want to see how that damn story ends.
Right, yeah, I'm curious.
That one's the most popular. Quatermass in a Pit, yeah.
Really?
I think so.
I don't even know what the pit would entail, because when I think pit, I think like Poe stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a mixture.
I'm curious. This is an ugly cat, guys, and he smells terrible. Yeah.
He don't smell. He's okay.
It's kind of stinky. And he has wonky eyes. You talked about your wonky eye today, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a wonky eye too. Me and Goblin take after each other. Well, we're out of here. We're going to roll that trailer. Which the sound quality on that trailer is garbage.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Planet.
Nightmare.
You found me out there, didn't you? That part of it wasn't a dream. Where does the dream finish and reality begin?
Are you dreaming, Janet? Are you sleeping? Or is this a waking nightmare?
What do you mean by locking yourself in all day?
I'll tell you. Here, I'm safe. I don't have to worry about anybody sneaking up behind me with this.
What is it? An evil curse? An insane hoax? A nightmare? Or cold-blooded murder? Nightmare. Shocking, 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 shocking.
Let's get into the questions here. We got some from Nick Mua. Always asking questions. Always appreciate it, man. Are there any dolls, puppets that scare you? I hate those porcelain dolls with eyes that open and close. Not really. I mean, maybe at one point as a kid I'd be creeped out by some. But I don't really get creeped out by dolls or puppets. But oh yeah. This is kind of weird. Kind of like me and my friend when we were young, I stayed over like one of this friend's grandma's house, and it was in the middle, kind of like they had a big lake, and a few of us stayed there. His cousin, who's a friend of mine as well, and me. So we all got our own rooms, and there was this really creepy. I go in my room, and my other friend ran up really quick to pick the room before me, and he's like, I got this one. And I was like, I would go open the door in my room, and there's all these like these big puffy dresses. This is only part of the story that are hanging over the bed coming out of the closet, and there's tons of them. They look like really weird doll dresses, but they're actual dresses. And I was like, this is really weird and awkward. And then I hear my friend in there later at night when he's trying to sleep. There's a glow baby Jesus. It's kind of like a doll lamp thing, and he's like, "Can I turn off the baby Jesus?" I hear him say that, and I just could not stop laughing because it was really creepy. And then like that. So I mean, like with the combination of the weird kind of doll-like dresses and the weird doll lamp thing, that's what comes to mind. So that's all I got. Why are people so hell-bent on understanding a movie rather than enjoying the picture? Heard that this really annoys Del Toro. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, some movies I enjoy watching for the ride. Other movies, like I said, like I enjoy his movies watching and thinking about what they mean and stuff like that. But that's weird from Del Toro to say that. Why are people so caught up on the understanding when they're just in, like, it's kind of a look in their psychology. But like Shape of Water definitely had some messages in it. And maybe he didn't have an overall message, but I think that he did. And I think it comes through subconsciously. So maybe he doesn't see it like that. But I most definitely see it in his movies that there is some sort of message in there. So I do see messages in movies, and like I said, that movie Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary, like I don't understand 100% what it means, but what it's saying and the stuff that it's portraying are interesting to me more so than the movie's entertainment value, and that incorporates into its entertainment value as well. If a movie can get you thinking and make you, kind of, I wonder, that is an entertainment because that keeps you pondering for days afterwards or hours afterwards. That's a different kind of entertainment. That's a learning entertainment, if that makes any sense. So there's different types of entertainments. There's different types of ways that movies are important to you. So I don't know 100%. You could go really into depth with that if you're bouncing off ideas on people. So have you heard anything about Roger Eggers' The Witch new feature, The Lighthouse? Are you planning to go see it? You can't go wrong with Willem Dafoe. Yeah, I will probably go see that. I thought The Witch was really good. I only got to see it the one time, which really is hard to kind of develop 100% opinion on, but I definitely was impressed with how accurate it was, feeling at least, and it had some twisted moments. I remember when I walked out of that movie, and there was some lady standing next to me, and everybody was just kind of like, wow. And I said, at least it's different. And she said, yeah, it is. I mean it. I mean it as a positive to that movie, but it's not. You don't see that kind of stuff every day. So yeah. And James Grimmer, are there any movie scores that you'd love to see performed live? You know why? Every time I think of Fabio Frizzi Zombie, I just want to see that one perform live really well. I'd like to see Day of the Dead too. And any Goblin. But Fabio Frizzi I'd like to see live. And I'd like to see Zombie done. We have some old answers. What was it? A movie that you wanted to love but didn't. So this one's pretty long. Dungeon Studio. Wes Anderson I love and don't. The Grey End, Budapest Hotel I think is all around brilliant, whereas The Royal Tenenbaums, what the fuck. Think his best is an animated fantasy stuff. Movies that let me down. Eyes Wide Shut. Just seems Stan was so put upon to use Cruise and Kidman, do a high X sex romp, and let Spielberg out with AI. Win-win for everyone. And holy crap, what a frickin' letdown on both. And all the speculation into EWS I find hilarious, more so than The Shining. I think Stan just got carried away making his New York and got homesick simultaneously. It all looks amazing, but just so empty and weak in the characters and plot. Same for AI, which I think Stan regretted he ever took interest in to begin with. Kind of like pulling back the curtain to The Wizard of Oz, all expecting to see Magnificent God, and it's just tired old Stan trying to please investors and executives, and being ashamed of what he's become, a name more than a filmmaker. And just despite everyone, he then died. Man, that's just some pretty brutal stuff you're saying here. I can't imagine Kubrick living in 2007 or trying to top anyone in the new millennium had he lived. I'm sure he'd be pushed to do so, team up with Scorsese or Tarantino. Maybe that would drive profits. Get Clooney, Malkovich, and Daniel Day-Lewis in a pick together? Yuck. You did good while you could do good, Stan. R.I.P. That's somebody who's been thinking about that for a while. And then we have Kentuckinator, or Kentucky Cucktonator. I wanted to love Mystery Science Theater movie, and it wasn't as good as an average episode of the show. And the original Ghoulies was a huge letdown after seeing part 3 and 2. Agree on Close Calls, it looked like a real movie. Think Argento Light, but it's too long and some performances are up to snuff. Not up to snuff, but I think there's a good 80-minute movie in there somewhere. Okay, Matthew Hudson. Took a long time to think about this one, but it just came to me. Sweeney Todd and Into the Woods. Don't fuck with Sondheim unless you're going to get it right. Okay. And then we have Andrew McLeod. Certainly don't hate him, but these fell way below my hopes and expectations. The Wailing, Neon Demon, Suspiria 2018, Halloween 2018, Session 9, Headless, Land of the Dead, Escape from New York. Benito Duran, Cabin in the Woods, such a great idea with such weak and annoying execution. Corella Warning, it follows. Beautiful soundtrack, incredible cinematography, but goddamn, the ending ruined everything. Fredo Mendoza, Halloween 2018, Child's Play 2019. And then we have new answers. Movies you thought you were going to hate, but you loved. Lee Bishop, Talladega Nights. Refused to watch it for years. Then when I did, I laughed my ass off. Peter McCain, New Suspiria, Body Double. New Suspiria and Body Double. I watched the other night as well, expected it to be slow and boring based on what others had said. The new Hellboy as well. And then we have Stephanie Robin, The I Spit on Your Grave remake, the first one. Shane Glass, next. And then Matthew Hudson chimes in. I like that a lot more than I thought I would, but it's still troubling me that it called an adaptation of Philip K. Dick's short story, The Golden Man. Absolutely nothing like it except a slightly similar power that both main characters had. That being said, it was much more enjoyable than I thought. But isn't that kind of like the Philip K. Dick movies that are made, what he does? Like everything it is like, it's a Philip K. Dick story, and it's really not. Kyle Anthony Rayburn, Hellboy 2019, Will Cardell, Child's Play 2019, Timothy Callan, The Day, horror WWE films, and Frankenstein's Army, nothing but fun. Frankenstein's Army was nothing but fun. It makes no sense like that they have the cameras like that, but I was like, I don't give a shit. It's fun. And then we have Scott Shermer, LA Confidential, Disturbing Behavior, Lords of Salem. If somebody that didn't like Rob Zombie's other movies came and watched Lords of Salem, I think that they would be pleasantly surprised, you know? But I like all his stuff except 31. So then we have Dustin Mills, Wanted. Loved the comic at the time, and the movie wasn't faithful at all, but it's some amazing action shellac. Lex Crosley, Maniac Remake. Justin Tooney, ditto. He agrees with Maniac Remake. Peter England, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 03, and its prequel, The Beginning. Love it for extreme nihilistic tone, especially the latter. Jason Rutherford, The Dead Don't Die. What a pile of crap. I think he misunderstood the question. Peter England, Jason Rutherford, I guess you have misread the question. Thanks, Peter. And then Jason says the movie angered me so much I couldn't think straight. Adrian Hall, Suspiria remake. James Bett Jr. So they kind of have an argument here about the Suspiria remake I'm not going to get into. I enjoyed the Suspiria remake myself. You can't top the original remake, okay? I meant the original film. Why even try to make it like it? Stephen Millen, the new Suspiria was more of a twist to the completely different take of the original film, for it surprisingly did work for me since I went into seeing it without warning to make any judgment about it before I actually went. JP Anderdricka, I don't hate it, but at the same time, have no desire to watch it again. Okay, we have something again. Alberto Giovanelli, that's also part of the argument. Suspiria remake and Punch Drunk Lover, the first two that immediately popped in my head. Morgan Suzik, he mentions how it's funny that people are not misreading the question. So we have the last couple Star Trek films get my vote. I've never been one for Trek or Star Wars at all, ever. But I was happy with the new Star Trek film that I watched the second one immediately after and ended up seeing the third in the theater. Apparently J.J. Abrams knows what's up. Peter Engelin, Yeah, I forgot about. Oh, Peter England also seconds that. James Bett Jr., Dawn of the Dead remake. I'm a huge Romero fan and was pissed they remade it. However, I ended up really liking it. Matthew Hudson, Lord of the Rings. Let me explain. I saw Fellowship of the Ring and thought it felt too long to me. Then my sister brought the extended cut and my friend wanted me to borrow it to watch. I thought it felt long before. It'd be goddamn interminable now. I don't know why that word's trouble for me right now, but my mouth's getting really dry. Excuse King. I'm actually dumb, that's why. But the funny thing is, the stuff they added, lots of character building moments, actually made me like it, because I cared about the characters. I love long movies that go into depth with characters, but the original theatrical cut of Fellowship, in my opinion, doesn't let you care about any of them. So I was surprised when I saw the extended cut that I liked it so much. Bill Casanelli, Chicago. And he also put No Country for Old Men. Then we have BDG Reviews, See No Evil 2. The Saska sisters may have gone kind of off the rails with the PC stuff lately, but they made an effective little slasher. Not seen See No Evil 2. JP Andrika, he says, okay. Then we have who we have here? Stephen McGirvin, Adam Chaplin, Travis Tiro, Hereditary, Andre Scott, Donnie Darko, but it took me a second watch to get hit and then fall in love, and then I loved it. Icarus Finn, Psychos in Love. Jason Lindbergh, Mother. Matt Brown, Suspiria remake. Peter England, Let Me In, the remake of Let the Right One In. Jason Fetters, Tourist Trap, because Stephen King recommended an interview I read and I had been burned before by his awful movie recommendations. I'm going to make a comment here. I saw like this list. I don't know how accurate it is or how new it is, but it said Stephen King's top like 30 favorite horror movies. And there's some classics on there, but like literally some of the stuff I'm like, ooh man, his taste in film is not like top 30 of all time. Your top... I know it's all subjective and stuff, but it's just kind of surprising. Adam Kersey, Incident in a Ghostland. And also, Stephen King recommended The Boogans. Boogans is not a very good movie. It's okay, but I would recommend that. I know, I'm like, I shouldn't be hating on The Boogans. Kit Kingsley, The Hobbit. Never liked fantasy as a whole, but when Bren took me to see it, I was actually interested. Too bad the rest were bloated garbage. Agreed! Love the first one. The rest... especially a third one. Samuel Glass Jr., The Shining miniseries. I thought Kubrick had done enough remodeling it to his own sensibilities. So when I first heard about the miniseries, I thought, Jesus H. Christ, not again. But I don't have the hate for it that most people do. It was much more faithful to the novel, and Rebecca De Mornay was closer to Wendy I pictured reading the book. J.P. Andrika, I should give the miniseries a shot. I come across it again. Okay. Jonathan Edward Smith, Dazed and Confused. I figured I'd dislike it since I'm not really a fond of most stoner comedies, but then I ended up loving it more than most comedies in general. LOL. Yeah, that movie is one that it took me a little bit to watch, but when I did, I really enjoyed it, and I watched that a bunch of times. Danny Turkel, Cellular. Randall Hack, Hedwig and the Angry Itch, a movie I've always wanted to watch. I know the soundtrack a little bit and enjoy that. Derek Austin, a movie based on a subject that has been done to death, had me expecting very little from it, but I walked away really liking it. Dracula Untold. As far as a movie I thought I hated but actually loved and didn't realize, Halloween 3. Belinda McKay, I actually thought it was going to hate the It remake and ended up being one of my favorites. Matt Cheek, The Dark Tower, books are great, movie is stupid, misunderstood the question again. Gabrielle Jewett, Showgirls. Peggy Small, Schindler's List, Aaron Welsh. The Visit. I went in solely because an evil grandparents movie was too stupid. For me to pass up. When I saw what M. Night Shyamalan was the director in the opening credits, I apologized to the person I convinced to go see it with. It certainly wasn't Oscar-worthy, but it was surprisingly entertaining and well done for what it was. Tom Brunner. There are so many movies that I really want to see that I haven't gotten to that I generally don't bother with. Something I suspect I'm going to hate. That said, the whole point of your post is what you could be pleasantly surprised. I suppose I missed out on some of the gems. Jeremy R. Midsummer. It was okay. I like the amount of flowers. Come on. Jordan Bibby. Kubo and the Two Strings. That is a cool movie. Paul Wilson. Takes deep breath. Zombie Tidal Wave. There it is. I said it. You know what? I watched the trailer and I was like, I don't like them sci-fi like movies like that, but I was like, I think I'm gonna watch Zombie Tidal Wave. I'm a sucker for zombie movies though. It looked like it was watchable. I was like, what's going on here? Brian Dorton, Sorority Row. Christopher Dallier, Phone Booth and the Strangers. Virginia Leigh, Silent Hill was a great flick. Never played the game, but Resident Evil was awful to me, so I figured it would be garbage. No, it was awesome. Oh, and Doom. I like that too. David Lawrence, Room. Thought it'd be ultra depressing. Turned out to have more hope than I was expecting. Viper Rose 1978. Wow, lots of haters and trolls this time around. Who would hate on Romero? Return of the Living Dead. Anyways, I didn't think I would like the new Suspiria, as I am extremely loyal to the original and believe it is a masterpiece, but ended up loving it. It's not the same movie, which has to be taken into consideration, but it was written really well, and the cinematography is just amazing. Hudson, on paper it follows, about a monster who looks human slowly following a girl. Yeah, I thought it would suck, but boy was I wrong. My favorite movie of the year. Loved the imagery, soundtrack, and cared for the characters. BizCut Bew Horror Reviews. Movies I expected to hate but ended up enjoying: Gummo, Trash Humpers, Pink Floyd, The Wall, Oculu, is that Oculus maybe? Maybe just misspelling on that. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Halloween 2018. Dungeon Studio. Gotta say, I'm really impressed with Vinegar Syndrome release of Lust in the Dust. I always thought them to be just bent sleaze scavengers for a twisted few. But I love Paul Bartel and had Lust on a crappy combo DVD. I liked VHS Vinegar Syndrome's artwork, and then it was on its own. And man, the packaging, restoration, and added features superb. I'm sure Paul must be smiling from above or below. Nine Lives looks intriguing as well. Bel Ferreira is an interesting filmmaker, though I wasn't too keen on Drill Killer Miss 45. It's interesting to see his development over time. So I'd hope Nine Lives has more way of bonus features than just the movie. Good work as always, my man. Thanks. I think I should have just read the first part, but I got caught in the thing. Vinegar Syndrome releases a lot of cool stuff. It's not just sleazy or porno films. They release some cool exploitation movies, some art films, and like westerns and stuff. So I always support them. I think that what they do is the video gods work. Nick Mua, Blood and Guts used to freak me out, so I avoided Eli Ross Cabin Fever for years. Boy, was I wrong and ended up really liking it. Unsettling for sure and quite gross, but it's a must-see. Wrong Turn 13, I thought the remake of Suspiria was going to suck. I liked it a lot. James Grimmer, I wasn't sure if I would like Chained at first. I need to be in the right mood to enjoy serial killer movies. It started out kind of uneventful with the mother and her son taking a taxi to return home from a movie theater, but it got much more engaging as I kept watching. The relationship that develops between the killer and his apprentices has more in common than you might expect, so they play off one another. Yeah, I thought that movie was pretty interesting. I'm not sure if I liked it or not, though. It was interesting, though. Paul Weichel. I know that most people would disagree with this, but I enjoyed the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy's design was complete crap, but I thought the movie was well written, much better than I had expected. Actually, I actually think that I might have enjoyed the movie because my expectations going in were as low as possible. Not the greatest movie, but an okay way to kill some time. Although, like with most remakes, I do get tired of nods to the original. In my opinion, remakes incorporating scenes from the original have become very cliche. I would actually put the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street above parts 5 and 7. I never watched the remake. I just couldn't do it. I started it and somebody's like, let's turn this off. And I was like, no arguments from me. But I really don't like Nightmare on Elm Street part 5 at all. I try and I'm like, when I was a kid, I tried to watch a movie 100 times, and I just always turn it off. I finished it before, but I just don't like it. It's just, no. Okay, and then I guess we got the question of the week. I want to know what some of your movie-related Halloween traditions are. Like, what do you do? Any Halloween tradition, but more so movie-oriented. Do you dress up like your favorite movie character every year? Do you watch one movie every year? Do you introduce your kid to a new horror movie? Let me know your Halloween traditions, because we're getting close to it. I guess we're going to hop into the update. Okay, let's get into this update. First up is the Arrow single release of Hellraiser. This is a classic movie. I reviewed the box set, so I'm not really going to cover this one very deep, but look at all the special features on that bad boy. There's audio commentary with Clive Barker and Ashley Lawrence. There's this new documentary on here, like the Leviathan, that hops into, like, it's divided into like 2 or 3 parts. This has part 1 on there. It's really cool and interesting. A bunch of people involved with it. There's an interview with Stephen Thrower on here, who worked on the music for Coil that was originally going to be the soundtrack. So it's a nice, interesting release. This looks pretty good. People forget that this was a super dirt cheap movie. So I think it was shot on 16 for very little money. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's nice, this release looks pretty good. I mean, the box set is also really cool, but if you're not really interested in part 3, then you want to pick these up separate. You might want to do that. But I like this one quite a bit. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. So if this interests you, then definitely pick this one up. Just great stuff all around. Hellraiser, it's amazing. You know what I mean. Then, of course, Hellraiser 2. More of the same. We have the Leviathan Part 2 coming in here. I love this movie as well. I thought this one looked pretty solid in comparison to previous releases. A very kind of dirty movie. We have an interview with Sean Chapman on here, who plays like 3 roles in this series. So, yeah, there's also an audio commentary with Tony Randall, the director, and some other people. Ashley Lawrence is on there. So it's got a couple new features from the old stuff, and we actually finally get a nice look at the surgeon scene so which has been kind of lost forever. So I love this one, not as much as the first one. I used to like it more as a kid, but if you're interested in, like I said, picking these up, because that box set has been long out of print, I think, for a little bit, or if you want to hear what I think about these more, then check out that box set review. It's the same stuff in there, but now we have like the separate disc and everything like that. So yeah. And then I guess we got another one here from Shout Factory. This is Zombie High. Yeah, I never watched this movie, Virginia Madsen. It was always on my radar because it had a zombie in the title, and I love frickin' zombie movies, if you guys don't know that. But yeah, I don't know much about this release. I'm sure it's kind of okay. I never heard amazing reviews for it, or really anything negative nor positive. Virginia Madsen's obviously Candyman and stuff like that. Sister of Michael Madsen, which is crazy. So then we have another one here, Scars of Dracula, classic Hammer horror, part of one of the latter of the Dracula series. Christopher Lee in here. If this one I remember correctly, I remember enjoying this one, but it's been a while. I can't wait to revisit this one. We got a new commentary on here, so yeah. And I'm sure this one finally looks remastered. This was the last one, I think, to get hit Blu-ray in the United States. So yeah, Scars of Dracula. And then we have Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. This is another Hammer horror movie. I don't know much about this one. Is this the third in the Hammer mummy movies? That series doesn't follow any order. They just all have mummies in them. So this one I think is closer to the book, with the Bram Stoker books. So yeah, this also has new interviews on there with some people in an audio commentary with, of course, Steve Haberman, who I actually don't know off the top of my head. So I'm looking forward to checking this out and digging into it. I haven't really loved any of the Mummy Hammer movies yet. I thought The Mummy was cool. And then the sequel to that was kind of poor. So this one, or middling. I'll say middling, not poor. Hopefully this one's better. And then we still got The Mummy Shroud after that, which I don't think has a Blu-ray in the States. So I guess we're going to hop back to the video. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching. And as always, you guys have a good one.